And you're begging her for your own other slave? This is... wow. No! Twilight repeated firmly. They cannot stay, and that's final. Nightmare Moon sighed and looked at Sunny. Sorry, Sunny. I guess you won't be able to have that sleepover you wanted. Twilight doesn't want you to have friends over. Oh, guilt trip. What? But... Twilight stopped, feeling cold sweat run down her side when she heard the whimper. Slowly, she turned to look at the white Pegasus, who was slumped on the floor next to the throne, looking at her in misery, tears welling up in her innocent eyes. Twilight knew that it was her fault, that Sunny's unhappiness was a direct result of her lack of compassion, and... Stop that! Twilight growled, putting a hoof over Nightmare Moon's mouth and seizing the alicorn's alarmingly accurate narration of her thoughts. Oh, that's why that was in quotations. I was reading in my narrative voice. I don't care, whatever. Can they stay one night, Twilight? Please, Sunny pleaded. I promise we'll be good. Yeah, Skulu said, glaring at the smirking Nightmare. I wouldn't mind staying a night at this castle. Applebloom shook her head as she also gave an evil look at the black alicorn. I don't mind staying either, as long as my sister is okay with it. They all looked at Twilight, who sighed, lowering her head in defeat. Fine. I'll go ask your sisters. Yay! Four voices echoed in the throne room, with a less enthusiastic Applebloom smiling uncomfortably. When they settled down, Nightmare Moon turned to the sister. Sunny, show your friends around the castle in the meantime. I have to arrange Sweetie's test. You're really doing it? Twilight gasped. The alicorn just smiled. Oh, okay. Twilight, I know that that's Applejack, okay. Twilight, I know that that Nightmare Moon and you have a special kind of relationship, but I can't believe you're asking me to let Applebloom stay the night over with her. I have to agree there, Rarity said with a grimace. Sweetie was acting strange enough today. I fear that's not all. Twilight closed her eyes. Sweetie Belle is... What? What is it? Rarity asked, walking closer to the purple unicorn, worry evident in her eyes. Sweetie is taking the test for Celestia's School for Gifted Unicorns. Today, Twilight said. Oh, no! That's horrible! Rarity stopped. Are you serious? Do I look like I'm joking? Rarity stared at Twilight, whose eyes shone with an unspeakable stress. Her mane was disheveled with little hairs sticking out in random directions. The strands around her horns seemed to be matted down, as if she had been rubbing a pillow on them, or... Fashionista coughed to her hoof. No, dear. You look like you were having... fun. And it was interrupted. Ew. That's true. What? Not that there's anything wrong with that, Twilight. But I hope that my sister didn't... Nothing happened! Twilight growled as her coat started smoldering and turning white. She's gonna turn into Rapidash. Shut up, Marshmallow. We believed you, Sugar Cube. Applejack hastily interjected, giving Rarity a look. Now, was this about a test? Twilight took a deep, shuddering breath and let it out slowly. Sweetie convinced Nightmare Moon that she was ready to try out for Celestia's School of Gifted Unicorns and... But, darling, Sweetie cannot cast a simple spell, Rarity pointed out. Well, this morning she was levitating and flinging pillows like a pro, Twilight said, and she claims to know at least 2 other spells and some illusion magic. But I haven't taught her anything, and the Ponyville School doesn't teach you magic to unicorns. Twilight shrugged. Well, that's what's happening. She'll be taking her test in a couple hours. We could go watch her if you want. But of course, Rarity said. What kind of sister? Wait, we would go to Camelot. Well, yes, the school's in... Oh, Celestia, what am I doing here? 2 hours, you said? Well, I should get ready. Maybe make something for Sweetie. She needs to look good for a test in front of all those noble ponies. Her eyes glittered with sudden memory. Do you think that Prince Blueblood would be there? Oh, fuck that faggot. Twilight frowned thoughtfully. Blueblood usually stays away from any form of education or source of knowledge, so I sincerely doubt that. That's why he's a fucking dumbass. Rarity looked downcast for a barrel of seconds. Oh, well, I still need to get ready. See you at the library, then. With that, she cantered away. Purple Unicorn sighed. Well, time to find Skulu's parents. She has parents? Oh my god. Do you understand what I'm asking of you? Nightmare Moon's eyes glowed with inner power as she looked down upon the cowering forms of the Board of Trustees of Celestia's School for Gifted Unicorns. But, your Highness, a gray unicorn stammered, what you're asking for, it doesn't exist. And? Nymer Moon leaned over, her long mane waving like a malevolent aura all around them. And we'll get it done, the unicorn shrieked. Squeaked. Good God. Good, the alicorn said, leaning back. Have it ready in 2 hours. 2 hours? The unicorn coughed, unable to fully express his shock. The wide eyes of the others was enough to bring a smile to Nymer Moon. If you don't have it ready, there will be consequences. With a megalomaniacal laugh, Nymer Moon turned into a mist and flew out of the window. The unicorns looked at each other in shock. How are we going to do this? An elder yellow-coated unicorn asked the others. We have to, a blue male unicorn said with a sigh. We have no choice. If we fail, the school would have no pony to repair whatever damage that monster might attempt against our students. A cream-coated mare coughed. I might have an idea. Rarity and Applejack followed Twilight through the halls of Canterlot Castle and into the gardens. Celestia's school for gifted unicorns was right next to the castle, since Celestia herself would sometimes teach and monitor promising students, as well as mentor a select few unicorns besides her faithful student. Well, this place sure is pretty, Applejack commented, looking around the grounds. Pretty empty, that is. Where is every pony? Well, since Nymer Moon came back, most of the nobles left the castle, Twilight explained. How awful, Rarity sighed. Well, to be fair, we have managed to do more work for the good of pony kind since they went away than ever before, Twilight elaborated. There she is! Rarity beamed as she spotted her sister walking with Sunny, Apple Bloom, and Skulu. Sweetie Belle! She waved with a hoof to get her sister's attention. Say us! Applejack ran up. Apple Bloom called as she ran up to Applejack. Sunny just showed us to the kitchen. They're huge. Granny Smith would love them. Yeah, Skulu grinned. The kitchen was great, and I can't wait for dinner tonight. Where the hell are your parents, chicken? You should have seen Skulu's face, Twilight, Sunny declared. Her eyes went really big, and she started running around and grabbing stuff, and Purple Unicorn chuckled. As long as nothing was broken, it's fine. I'm glad you four are having such a good time. Rarity stepped forth to hug Sweetie Belle. I am so proud of you, she gushed. I can't believe you learned magic so early. You must tell me who taught you. Twilight caught the filly sneaking a glance at her for just a second. Shut the hell up, dog. But Sweetie's attention was back to her sister as a blue and white cape slowly draped around the filly's form. Sis, what? You must look good for your test, sweetie. Remember, it's the damn dog. Okay, so sorry about that. My dog was barking for no reason, so now I had to let him in my room so he wouldn't disturb my recording. Let's get back to it. You must look good for your test, sweetie. Remember, it's the first impression that will either open the door or close it, Sweetie finished. Exactly, Rarity smiled, stepping back to take a look at the filly and carefully arranging the cape until it was perfect. So, you were saying, darling? Her name was Trixie, Sweetie said with a twinge of guilt. Well, it's not really lying. She did teach you one thing. She's a showman who has traveled all over Equestria. Oh, Rarity blinked. I don't believe I've ever heard of her. Don't worry, Sweetie said absently, looking at the school nervously. You will. Are you ready for your test, Sweetie? Twilight asked. No. At least the marshmallow's honest. So I'm going to stop with the marshmallow and chicken jokes that are old. Well, the unicorn coughed. I can't guarantee that you'll pass, but if you remember to smile and look confident, I guarantee you'll make a good first impression, Purple Mare advised with a wise nod of her head. Will they make me hatch an egg? Sweetie asked. Twilight blinked. How did you... She looked at Sunny hopefully. Did you tell her, Sunny? The Pegasus looked surprised. No. I didn't know what the test was. Oh, Twilight sighed, but her mind was working furiously. How did she know? It's a guess. A lot of tests involve eggs. Like that race when you have to carry an egg in your hand. You know, the Easter egg things. For Easter. It's a race. I'm sorry, real life experiences. Well, it's time, Nymer Moon said, inserting her head between Rarity and Twilight. Yes, indeed. Wah-ha! Rarity jumped, her dress fluttering in the wind until she landed on top of Applejack, who gave a half-amused, half-annoyed glance while every pony else worriedly stepped back from the Queen's sudden appearance. You keep landing on top of me, Rarity. I might think you're looking for something else. That's nonsense, Rarity stammered as she turned to glare at the black alicorn. Don't do that! I'm the Queen. I do what I like. Nymer Moon grinned. Now, let's go, sweetie. The room was a dull gray with the biggest chalkboard Sweetie had ever seen on the wall behind her. She faced the rest of the study hall, idly wondering if Miss Cheerily ever felt so nervous in front of the classroom. Of course, Sweetie was only facing a class of 4 unicorns, but it didn't help matters that all 4 were older and staring at her rather intently. She looked nervously towards Twilight and Rarity, both of whom smiled widely and pointed at their mouths. The filly struggled to bring a small smile out, and was rewarded by the board immediately taking notes. A brown stallion walked through the room dragging a cart, in the middle of which a large egg of the utmost black rested. Oh, fucking eggs. What the hell are you doing, dog? What? Hey, you bastard. I swear that damn dog. Well, Miss Bell, one of the unicorns spoke, although she couldn't know which one it was, since her eyes were glued to the egg. It says here that you are a student of Trixie. There was a pause. Are we talking about the great and powerful Trixie by any chance? Sweetie looked at them. Yes, that's her. Oh, God. Points deducted. Fast scribbling. The great and powerful Trixie? Twilight wondered aloud. Never heard of her. But she sounds like an interesting unicorn based on the title alone. Miss Bell, to be admitted to the school, you need to hatch the egg in front of you using magic you know. Please go ahead. Whenever you're ready. Sweetie gulped. I have no idea how to do this. What am I going to do? She started hyperventilating. We never covered this in Twilight's class. I don't have a sonic rain boom to help me. A quick look at her mentor's counterpart helped calm her down a bit. Well, if I don't try, I won't know. How should I start? Maybe try to levitate half of it? Her horn blazed in the egg's top part started glowing. Carefully pulling, she started the process of what would happen. Hopefully hatch the egg in. Why is the egg stretching like that? Rarity whispered to Twilight, who was looking at the black egg in complete befuddlement. Why? The purple unicorn stammered, her eyes widening as the lower half of the egg remained in place, but the upper part slowly stretched farther, as if the egg was made of bubble gum. Nymer Moon turned her head away and shook silently, drawing Twilight's attention to her. The purple unicorn raised an eyebrow, but chose to remain silent. Sweetie opened her eyes and gasped, releasing her control of the egg, which immediately reformed into its original shape. What? She squeaked out before glancing at the board of instructors as they wrote more notes. Calm down, Sweetie. You can do it. She focused on the egg once more, and slowly a visible aura formed around the egg as she concentrated even more. The silence in the room stretched for a couple minutes until a cough from one of the unicorns broke it. Miss Bell, while continuous use of prestidigitation as a warming spell would indeed attach an egg eventually, we don't have months to wait, nor use the stamina to sustain it that long. However, I have to commend you, since you are the first unicorn ever to think of anything remotely similar to natural hatching. But I'm afraid that still doesn't mean you pass. Oh, Sweetie pouted. Next to Twilight, Nymer Moon could barely contain her laughter, drawing the attention of Celestia's student. You had something to do with this, she said, raising her voice and calling every pony's attention to the nightmare. Twilight's eyes flashed in anger. You're cheating! Nymer Moon smirked. Now, dear Twilight, I just thought that such a smart filly would need a better challenge than a boring old dragon egg. What did you do? Well, I asked them to give her an ink dragon egg. Nymer Moon smiled. You... What? I can't... No. Twilight started to smoke as her anger increased. Wow! Sweetie Belle looked at the egg in awe. An ink dragon! Never even heard of one of those before. Now, Sweetie, that's because... Miss Sparkle, one of the unicorns coughed. If you're quite done, Miss Bell has one more try, and we all have work to do. Think, Sweetie, think! The unicorn filly looked around for inspiration. Ink! Call Aquaman to call an octopus into the room, and then you'll win, no doubt. Ink! She shouted suddenly, her eyes filling with hope. That's it! It's just like that time I dropped the ink bottle in Miss Cheerily's class. I had to use some paper towels. But where can I get some paper towels? Or even just some paper? Sweetie looked at the unicorn sheepishly. Could I have some paper, please? I don't know what you have in mind, Miss Bell, but the test can only be completed with skills and spells you possess, and can do it by yourself. The only paper in this room is in our notebooks, and we are using them. Well, fuck! You don't need all that paper, Dick. Sweetie sighed, frowning as she pawed the ground, thinking. Well, there goes that idea. What else can I do? She thought. Levitation doesn't work. Prestidigitation takes months. Shield wouldn't work. And that spell Trixie taught me wouldn't work unless I can talk it in the hatching, she sighed. I should really review it. Maybe take some notes later on that notebook Rarity gave me in the other world. I really hope the summoning spell works here. The unicorn filly sat down and started despondently at the egg. I give... Every pony held their breaths. Notebook! Sweetie screeched, making the surrounding ponies jump in surprise. Yes, the notebooks are the only sources of paper here, so... Yes, the notebooks are the only sources of paper here, so... Not yours! Mine! Sweetie said with a big smile as her horn shone with magic again. Slowly, to the surprised eyes of the gathered ponies, space in the air just in front of Sweetie seemed to open, and an object slowly floated out. An interdimensional pocket? A filly her age? Impossible! One of the unicorns shouted in surprise, dropping his own notebook and pen as the pocket closed up. Ignoring every pony's gaping stares, Sweetie opened her notebook and approached the egg. Okay, all I have to do is get to the top of the egg. She slowly started pressing the open notebook on top of the egg. Every pony watched in awe as the top was slowly absorbed into the paper. That's... Lemon Moon's eyes went wide. That's cheating! You cheated too, bitch. So is having the board create an egg for a dragon that doesn't exist, Twilight growled. Still concentrating, Sweetie slowly lowered the notebook until... Achoo! Ah! Sweetie jumped back in surprise, losing her concentration on the notebook. The gem-studded booklet fell straight down, splashing the ink in all directions, splattering her face and her cape. No! Sweetie yelled, running up to the egg while the unicorns exchanged worried glances. Why did you do that? Twilight rounded up on Nightmare Moon. The alicorn rubbed her nose with her hoof. I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to. Right. This exam is concluded, one of the unicorns said shakily. The group watched the unicorns get up and slowly walk out of the door, casting the uneasy glances at the ink in the floor. Sweetie sniffed. With a flash of magic, her notebook was gone. I failed. It's okay, Sweetie, Rarity said, carefully stepping around the ink. I think I can still remove the ink from it, she sighed, and gave her sister an encouraging smile. You did your best, and I have to say, I am very, very proud of you. The filly looked at her sister with big wet eyes. Really? The fashionista nodded. Really? I never thought you knew so much magic. I'm so proud. It was impressive, Twilight added. And don't worry, you really impressed them. I'm sure next time you take the test you'll get in. You're still very young, and although I never heard of some pony breaking the egg, it was nothing more than a fake egg. Sweetie slowly smiled. Thanks, sis. Thanks, Twilight. She was suddenly hugged by two other fillies. That was super awesome, Sweetie, Skulu said. You have to tell me when you learn all that. I've never seen anything like it, Apple Bloom nodded. A loud growl made them all cringe. The group turned to look at Nightmare Moon, who had the decency to blush. What? All this made me hungry. We should eat, she said, starting towards the door. Sweetie nodded and followed the group, but not before looking back at the ink spots on the floor. I'm sorry. Even if you weren't a real egg. Is it wrong if I think this Nightmare Moon is more intimidating than the other one? And this one's a clown, so that's... Good job, Wanderer D. You made jackass Nightmare Moon much more intimidating than, well... the other Nightmare Moon. They're both jackasses, so... Oh my! Rarity gasped as they entered the large hall. It was tastefully decorated with banners depicting Nightmare Moon in various poses of questionable power. This is amazing! Definitely what you would expect of Canterlot Castle. Nightmare Moon chuckled. This is one of the smaller dining halls. Applejack's eyes widened. This is one of the smaller ones? I reckon you could fit half the entire Apple clan around that table. The wooden dining table had already been set up by the time the group arrived. It could easily accommodate twice the amount of ponies, yet somehow all of it was covered with different dishes. I don't rightly know if I can eat that much. Don't worry, sis. Apple Bloom patted her foreleg comfortingly. No pony expects you to. We're supposed to only eat what we want. Ah. Applejack blushed his rarity, and Twilight chuckled. I know that, Apple Bloom. I'm just saying it's a lot of food. Oh, okay. Philly smiled brightly. Let's eat. I don't see that many apples, though, Applejack muttered, looking around the table. Applejack, darling, Rarity shook her head. There's more to food than just apples. I'm just saying, just saying. The apple farmer shook her head, looking around the dainty decorations, the 3 different types of forks and spoons and knives and pincers, and she shuddered. It was like being back with the oranges. 4 fillies, 3 mares in incarnation of all that was evil in ponydom, sat down for dinner, with the black alicorn at the head of the table. Oh, good! They made clover soup! That's my favorite, Nymer Moon grinned. We were asked by Miss Scootaloo to prepare every pony's favorite dish, a pony in a chef's coat and a toque said, walking towards the table. For Miss Twilight, we prepared a daisy salad with dried tart cherries and greens, with a hint of smoked almonds. I remember well the first time she ate it, the chef chuckled as Twilight blushed. For Miss Rarity, under Miss Bell's advice, we have a wide selection of deli mushroom dishes, hoof-picked by myself and my assistant. Not too much of each, but all of them carefully prepared. The fashionista blinked, shrinking to her seat as her stomach growled. Sounds like every pony's really hungry, Applejack smirked, patting Rarity. The unicorn just glared at her. If anything, the chef looked pleased. He coughed. For Miss Bell, we have a daisy and clover sandwich with a side of fried potatoes. Oh, I love daisy and clover sandwiches, too, Twilight exclaimed, smiling at the unicorn filly. I have them all the time at the library. That's probably what they both ate when they were studying magic. Really? Sweetie Belle chuckled nervously, causing the purple unicorn to raise an eyebrow. Next, we have a hay milkshake and a carefully glazed portobello mushroom with lettuce, dandelion, and tomato sandwich with a single slice of blue cheese made with multi-grain bread, toasted to just to crispiness, along with a salad of greens, red onion, chili, blue crumbles, and nuts tossed in the vinaigrette, prepared personally by Miss Scootaloo. Prepared by Miss Scootaloo? Prepared? Chickens can cook? I'm sorry, I'm done. Every pony at the table gaped at the furiously blushing Pegasus. So that's what you were doing when you disappeared on us, Sonny gasped. My, that sounds delicious. It is, the chef nodded. I wrote down the recipe, with Miss Scootaloo's permission, of course. The Pegasus seemed to shrink as every pony showered her in praise. Just don't tell Rainbow Dash. Cooking is not cool. We have buttered spaghetti with fresh basil for Miss Sunny, the chef continued, although he seemed amused by Scootaloo's embarrassment of her cookie skills. A plate of waffles with honey for Miss Bloom. Apple Bloom! Applejack turned to look at her sister. What kind of lunch is that? Philly blushed. But I love waffles! I like waffles, too. Don't make fun of people and their waffles, you fucking hick. And finally, under Miss Bloom's recommendation, we have an apple pecan stuffed cabbage with a cold pasta and apple salad as a side, and an apple variation of the crepe Suzette for dessert, also courtesy of Miss Scootaloo. What the fuck kind of lunch is that, Applejack? Fucking retard. The Pegasus hid under the table, face flushing a darker fuchsia than her mane. Applejack stared at all the apple dishes in front of her. She somehow missed spotting when they entered the room. Her mouth started watering, but she remembered her manners. Rarity nodded appreciatively at the food and turned to face the chef, opening her mouth to convey her delight when somebody else spoke. Wow, this looks simply delightful, chef. My compliment. Oh, that's her Manhattan accent. Why, this looks simply delightful, chef. My compliments to you, your assistant, and of course our little darling, Miss Scootaloo. Applejack complimented her, how her eyes widening at the words pouring out of her mouth and her involuntarily shifted in diction. The table became very quiet. Applejack looked around nervously. What? I said it looked delicious. But... Rarity stammered, her jaw hanging in a very unladylike expression. But... You said... I said it looked delicious, the farm pony repeated, her tone slightly hysterical. The others slowly turned to look at their plates. Well, what are we waiting for? Nymer Moon demanded. Let's eat! The chef pony bowed as he backed out of the hall, leaving them to their meal. Yeah! Scootaloo seconded. taking a bite out of her food. Her grin widened as the alicorn dug into her soup with gusto. Enjoy, every pony! Following the example of both the Pegasus and the alicorn, the rest of the group started eating. It was a few minutes before conversation started again.